Okay, now I'll demonstrate taxiing techniques. The following basic taxi information is applicable to both nose wheel sorry, and tail wheel airplanes, and in some rare cases, multi-engine. Taxiing is the controlled movement of the airplane under its own power while on the ground. Since an airplane is moved under its own power between the parking area and the runway, the pilot must thoroughly understand and be proficient in taxiing procedures. An awareness of other aircraft that are taking off, landing, and consideration for the right way of others is essential to safety. When taxiing, the pilot's eyes should be looking outside the airplane to the inside as well as the front. The pilot must be aware of the entire area and the airplane to ensure that the airplane will clear all obstructions and other aircraft. If any time there is doubt about the clearance from an object, the pilot should stop the airplane and have someone check the clearance. It may be necessary to have the airplane towed or physically moved by the ground crew. It's difficult to set any rule for a single safe taxiing speed. What is reasonable and prudent under some conditions may be imprudent or hazardous under other situations. The primary requirements for safe taxiing are positive control, the ability to recognize potential hazards in time to avoid them, and the ability to stop or turn where and when desired without undue reliance on the brakes. Pilots should proceed at a cautious speed on congested or busy ramps. Normally, the speed should be at the rate where movement of the airplane is dependent on the throttle. That's slow enough so when the throttle is closed, the airplane can be stopped promptly. When yellow taxiway centerline stripes are provided, they should be observed unless necessary to clear airplanes or obstructions. When taxiing, it's best to slow down before attempting a turn. Sharp, high-speed turns place undesirable side loads on the landing gear and may result in uncontrollable swerve or a ground loop. This swerve most likely to occur when turning from a downwind heading toward an upwind heading in a moderate to high wind conditions. Pilots will note the airplane's tendency to weather vane or turn into the wind when the airplane is proceeding crosswind. When taxiing at appropriate speeds in no wind conditions, the aileron and elevator control surfaces have little or no effect on directional control of the airplane. The control should not be considered steering devices and should be held in a neutral position. Their proper use while taxiing in wind conditions will be discussed later. Steering is accomplished with rudder pedals and brakes. To turn the airplane on the ground, the pilot should apply the rudder in the desired direction of turn and use whatever power or brake that is necessary to control the taxi speed. The rudder pedal should be held in the direction of the turn until just short of the point where the turn is to be stopped. Rudder pressure is then released or opposite pressure is applied as needed. More engine power may be required to start the airplane moving forward or to start a turn than is required to keep it moving in any given direction. When using additional power, the throttle should immediately be retarded once the airplane begins moving to prevent excessive acceleration. When first beginning to taxi, the brakes should be tested for proper operation as soon as the airplane is put in motion, applying power to start the airplane. In the up position reduces the effect of the wind striking that wing, thus reducing the lifting action. This control movement will also cause the downwind aileron to be placed in the down position thus a small amount of lift and drag on the left wing, further reducing the tendency of the upwind wing to rise. When taxiing with a quartering tailwind, the elevator should be held in the downwind position and the aileron since the wind is striking the airplane from behind, these control positions reduce the tendency for the wind to get under the tail and the wing and to nose the airplane over. The application of these crosswind taxi corrections help to minimize the weathering tendency and ultimately results in making the airplane easier to steer. Normally, all turns should be started using the rudder pedal to steer the nose wheel. To tighten the turn after full pedal deflection is required. The brake may be applied as needed. When stopping the airplane, it is advisable to always stop with the nose wheel straight ahead to relieve any side load on the nose wheel and to make it easier to start moving ahead. During crosswind taxiing, when the nose wheel type airplane has some tendency to weather vane, however, parking brake slips or if application of the toe brakes is inadequate for the amount of power applied, the airplane could move forward unnoticed if attention is fixed inside the airplane. Each airplane has different features and equipment, and before takeoff checklist provided by the airplane manufacturer or operator should be used to perform the run-up.